Welcome everybody back to Futsal News Live. It's been a minute since we've done a traditional podcast here on the channel, and we've got a very special guest with us tonight. No, it's not Luke. It's not Luke. He's a regular. But we've got IX here with us. He is a content creator over on TikTok for this lovely sport of futsal that we all love and enjoy together. So I think that he deserves a lot more credit. So I wanted to get him out there in the stratosphere, and so I wanted to introduce him to everybody through the channel. I actually want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about how you came to this point.
Yeah, so IX, I make futsal content amongst other things I make related to futsal. I discovered futsal in Malawi. I grew up in Malawi my whole life up until I was 18. Then I came up to the States for college. And when I was in Malawi, I watched a lot of anime. Watched the basketball anime and thought to myself, man, I wonder, my first thought was football needs an anime, soccer, whatever you want to call it. And there's a bunch of them and they're all trash. And I was like, oh, I can make a really good one. But then initially my first thought was like, dang, juggling 11 characters every chapter, or 22 really, and making them matter is going to be tough. So let me do futsal. I was just like, it was purely story based. I started watching Iran's, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of Iran's matches are on YouTube.
Yeah, their league is on there, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think their league is on there, but you can find so many of their national teams. And this was back in like 20, I want to say like 16 maybe. And I was just watching Iran's futsal team over and over again. And that was my introduction to futsal. And I was like, yeah, this is a sport I'm going to make a manga over. And from then I just became a fan. I mean, if you like soccer, it's easy. You know what I mean? Like everything you do actually like about soccer is in futsal, but 10,000 times more. Nobody really enjoys watching Jordan Henderson pass the ball back and forth, but you do like watching someone dribble and, take a shot, and that's futsal every 3 seconds, damn near. And so it was easy. It was an easy sport to become a fan of. I came up to the States and we play futsal back in Malawi, but you don't know it's futsal. You're just playing on surface that's not grass and it's 5v5. You're like, hey, this is fun. I came up to the States, played futsal in college because, winter season comes around and every college tries to play some version of futsal. Yeah. And I just loved the game. I was like, with soccer, I don't enjoy soccer when I'm losing. Futsal is the only sport where when I'm losing, when I play it, I'm just glad I'm on the court. I'm actually just happy to be on there. Of course, if I want to win, I'm going to try and win. But like, it was just that type of sport where it's like, okay, this isn't just about like coming. If I like play bad, I'm actually mad in futsal. When I played bad in soccer and we won, I was like, thank God. Get to take a shower, man. We drove 3 hours to Michigan. It's cold. I don't want to do this. But that's a little bit about me. I write a futsal manga, which is on pre-order right now. I know you guys probably have the link situated somewhere in the description of this video. Comes out in January, hopefully with no hitches. It'll come out in January. And I'm trying to make a futsal video game, but that's a long way away. 9 to 5s are real time killers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid work.
Yeah. The things you do.
Man. Hey, shout out to KDSJJ in the chat. I know I recognize that name from, I think, the Discord, if I remember right, over there. So that's another thing I wanted to make sure we plug too, is just like what we're doing, but much better job actually. IX has a Discord as well. So if you guys are looking for a community of guys watching games, talking shop, there's a ton of activity over there. And I think one of the things that's really cool about this sport, and you kind of touched on it, but how global it can be. And I think your Discord really highlights that. You have people from all over chatting in there and, bragging and sharing stories and stuff. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, no, it's cool because when I started the channel, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm probably going to hit like a lot of Americans or something, and they'll get to know the game. And over time, every time I'm in a live, it's Croatians, it's, Bosnians, and like Eastern Europe. And like one kid was like, yo, you're like big in Norway. And I was like, I don't even know what big means. And then like to put the context of Norway and like Denmark, but it's super cool. Like I think the person in the chat, he's from Suriname. I know when CONCACAF was going down, he was supporting. I forgot who was supporting. Forgive me. I know him as Lukaku in the Discord, especially because his profile pic is Lukaku. But it's cool because I think a lot of people don't realize like their teams are playing futsal tournaments and are like actually good. Like I had a couple of Venezuelans when I showed their matches in the Copa.
Yeah.
They're like pulling up and they're like, "Hey, we're good at this." And I was like, "Yeah, you're not bad at this at all." Like, and I think that's part of the reason it's so global because like I'll show a team from Croatia beating a team in the Champions League and Croatians will pull up and they're proud and they're like, "Yo, that's Dinamo, that's like from my city and oh, I've met that guy," but they've never seen it like reflected or like seen as important when I'm like, this is important.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And I think another thing too that you said that's interesting, I kind of ran into something similar is in the beginning, and it's shifted a little bit for me now, but just because of the nature of what I've gotten myself involved in. But when I first started the channel, I thought, oh, this will be great. I can kind of help get a little more exposure to the game for Americans. Maybe it'll catch on, or I can have my little corner of the internet where people, figure this thing out. And in the beginning, I got mostly European viewers, and it's shifted a little bit now, but it took a long time. And it used to be anytime I covered anything in America, the views were crap. But, it's shifted a little bit now. Like nobody cared about that American stuff. I don't know. You just let us know when you're covering England again. Let us know when you're covering
Right.
Spain again. I think we've got your page up now with some of your videos. You've had some really really awesome videos on here on the TikTok on your channel there. What do you think about the format in TikTok and how it's led to your success?
I think TikTok, bar the ban, I don't want y'all caught up with the feds or something. I think TikTok is awesome because TikTok is truly the app you want it to be. And it's actively, of course, to create addicts, but it's actively trying to find people who like this type of content. Mm-hmm. And I've always found it interesting. There's two things I find really interesting. People like the informative videos where I'm explaining the rules of futsal or I'm doing something of that sort, or I'm talking about a certain player or team. They like knowing, oh, what happened to Falcao, what's his story, what's Ricardinho's story, and such and such. And I think that speaks to like a hunger for like knowledge of futsal. Because like when I do the like, hey, here's what happened last weekend in Spain, it'll do well. I just don't think anybody really cares that much because I think the Spanish league themselves haven't done enough to make someone care, even if they are a follower of the game already or something. Whereas like people really just have no idea. Some of them don't know the rules. I have one guy who's like, I became a ref because of one of your videos and you explained the rules for me. And I was like, this would be interesting. Wow. People don't know Falcao or Ricardinho's story. They've seen the compilations and that's as good as they've gotten. And like I think the one video that's second there is explaining how he tried to play pro soccer and failed, and people are really into that. And I think futsal the knowledge gap is what's really hurting the sport. The compilations, I say the compilations are the worst thing that have happened to futsal. But that's like, yeah, right? It's like trying to teach someone how to drive based on action movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And
that is a good analogy.
When we watched futsal at first on the live streams, which I do not actually do if anybody of officials is watching, but when we went together,
in case any social media execs are listening.
Right.
When we, allegedly watch futsal together, I think what's happened is there's a brain rot created by the compilations where people are expecting every play to be some guy doing 10,000 step overs. He nutmegs 2-3 guys and then he scores a crazy goal. And I'm like, that's going to happen in futsal. But just like soccer, there are many slow moments in this game. They're less than soccer, obviously. Yeah. But I think the compilation, like, because that's how people get futsal, and that's all they want to see. They don't. When it's like, oh, they're just passing, it's boring. I'm like, you watch soccer. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, the ball's out of play for 30 minutes. Statistically, that's been proven. The other like 60 minutes they're playing, 40 minutes of Jordan Henderson's. There's only like 2 or 3 actually remarkable players on the field.
I love that. That's funny. Well, it's true. I think, and I think it shows too, if you even pull it all together with our platforms, is those videos always do the best because it's instant action. It's that instant gratification the viewer's looking for. But yeah, it does not, it doesn't completely highlight the beauty of our game. And I actually think, as much as I appreciate the one-on-ones and some of the style you get to see out of that, I actually think I appreciate the passing plays a little bit more. When you carve through 4 guys with 2 passes and just get yourself a nice little tap in on a goal that's 80% covered by some 6'4" maniac, like that's pretty amazing. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool, but and then I think too about why it's not taking off here, because it does solve all the problems that the average American sports fan doesn't like about soccer. It's actually kind of crazy.
No, I've been preaching that gospel for years. I've told people this is America's favorite sport. They just don't know it yet.
Right.
Yes.
Like, it's pure, it's energetic. It has athleticism to a fair amount. It's physical to a fair amount, but it's skill-based. I mean, it has like Americans, I don't know if you guys think this is true, but I've observed you guys like a little bit of shame and embarrassment, an Allen Iverson walking over Ty Lue type moment.
Right.
I think Baker Mayfield doing the total, and futsal kind of has that vibe to it where you can embarrass a guy, like you can really put him down. Unlike soccer, it doesn't really happen too much. Futsal has all the elements that I think it has timeouts. Even the business people would love it. They could put an ad there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't understand. And of course, naturally, it would help, soccer. It would help actual soccer out if futsal grew here.
Right.
But I hate bringing that up because you're like, oh, yeah, it's a great development sport. And it's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, that's something we've been talking about here for years is, that part of it's certainly true, but it's a whole nother pathway as well. There's, you think about kind of your futsal guy that you see compared to maybe an outdoor player. They're 2 different types of players. There's definitely room for both, but I'm fortunate enough I get to coach with some pretty intelligent people, and I've learned from some pretty intelligent people over the last couple of years in the futsal world. And they say it all the time is, you can translate futsal skills to the football pitch, but you cannot translate football skills to the futsal court. It does not work that way. I think it makes it a really unique sport.
No, I agree too. I think that's actually one of the reasons Italy's futsal team is struggling, because their futsal team is filled with failed soccer players. And it's like, after like 16, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to work. Like, they're going to get on a court and just kind of be running around, basically.
I know you mentioned that you kind of followed it through college when you came here as well. Did you find that there was any did you find people who were playing futsal at the college you went to?
Yeah, they had an intramurals. And that's the funny thing about futsal is, like, when you go to any of these colleges, usually, like, once you get to the intramurals time of the year, you find everybody who really loves the game and they show up and they'll play every weekend. And so my team was filled with Brazilians and such, and they took intramurals seriously. It was like, oh man, I just played with this guy for a whole season outside, and he was on jokes. Like, he's a college student. This guy's partying, he's showing up to a game, and they still kill it outside, of course. But when it came to intramurals, like, they had squads ready. He was my captain, coaching players before intramurals. He was like, hey, he was a Portuguese guy. He's like, can you play? Can you play? And I was like, I'm like, dang, these guys, this is serious. And like, the level of like passion that people have for futsal is just that much more.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't have the platform to justify it. Like, it doesn't have a tournament. It doesn't have a official college league, but this was intramurals, and these
Right.
guys were going crazy, recruiting the best girls players because it was a co-ed thing. You had to have 2 girls or play with, I think, or play with a man less or something. So they were going to the girls team and finding players. And I can guarantee, I've talked to other people, it is the same throughout most U.S. colleges. Like when intramurals or club ball is on and it's inside, people are for real. Like it's not a joke anymore.
It's funny how that changes things. It's interesting. I was just curious because I ran into a local college to me in Cleveland State University, and I ran into some guys, and they actually had 2 full teams of guys that were part of like I guess it was a university club that's funded by the university. So it's not an official team per se, but they have university funding to go find futsal wherever they want. So they were reaching out to the likes of Ohio State, University of Akron, some other local colleges here, trying to put a league together. And they're like, hey, we've got funding from our university. You need to ask for this too, so we could get a league going. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I've been working with them, trying to figure out ways I can keep them involved and find them some competition, because I think that's really cool. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
That would be cool. I think it would be cool to see a sport truly born from community, which is what futsal could really be.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference between American and European sports. Is European, it's like, oh, Liverpool was just a team of teachers, and then they became Liverpool, and it's like it's in the community and everybody's all for it. Or like America is always kind of like corporate. The Dodgers could be in any city tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like they used to be in Brooklyn, now they're on the whole other side of the country. And it would be really cool if something took hold like that, where it's like colleges are just going, hey, man, we know you've got your slated group of sports that you want to play, but we want to do this, and we want to like do this with like a platform to do it on. And I think futsal really has the opportunity because it's not corporatized yet. To really just come from the ground up and just like, hey, we're a community, we love futsal, and we want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's kind of funny is I think back of like when Ryan Reynolds and Rob McAnally first bought AFC Wrexham, and then they were doing the show around it and everything else, and there was all this hype, and people were almost poo-pooing on fans of American people who were becoming fans of Wrexham, and it's like, no, there's actually something there. Like I know that it's superstars everybody knows that are in the show, but like the team itself has so much history to it. I mean, it's real life lore. Like, of course, people are interested, as opposed to, and I'm just using a local example, but oh yeah, Columbus Crew. What's the history of them? Well, some billionaire formed them in 19.
Right.
It's like I don't know what. I mean, that's unfortunately the American story on a lot of that stuff, but it's kind of cool to see that futsal could be that European style of, hey, truly grassroots, real good fans. I mean, we saw even just in our league over the weekend how many fans showed out just for 2 teams facing each other in the same city. I mean, it's pretty. There's definitely a growing swell for it. It's just about, I think, supporting it the right way.
Oh, for sure. I went to a United futsal tournament. I was a ref there. And it's horrible.
Really?
Not a horrible experience as like the whole thing, but being a ref with parents who've paid is tough.
Man.
But one parent was like, this is it. This is the next best sport in America. And I was like, you're on the money, my brother.
What's interesting is I guess FIFA, when old Sepp was in charge, which is scary to start the story with, but he had told some folks in futsal circles, and you talk about those like degrees of separation for someone. A couple of people that were close to some folks in U.S. soccer were telling me if it wasn't for women's sports taking off like it did, futsal was their next big investment. And then women's football took off, and there's just kind of this natural growth of interest in women's sports. And Seb said, we can't ignore this. We gotta jump on this wagon. And now we have, I mean, it turned out to be a good thing. I can't fault them for that. I'm appreciative of women's sports, but they did kind of steal our thunder a little bit. So dang it, ladies. Oh, we got a question in the chat here from Kay. Is there a professional futsal league in America? No, is the easy answer.
No.
There almost was.
Yeah.
Speaking of lore. But yeah, right now it's amateur leagues. So the two big ones are NFPL and FCS, which is Futsal Champions Series, is what that stands for. I'm biased because I work for for FCS, but I've spent a lot of time watching NFPL. That's what got me into the sport and got me hooked, was finding a team that was in that league. So they still hold a spot in my heart just because that's where it all started for me. So yeah, it's a little different here. Not quite probably what you would expect for an American sport. Have you
not for the lack of trying?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the likes of Mark Cuban were lurking about on the first PFL, Professional Futsal League, back in
they had the game with
2000.
Barca, right?
Yeah, they brought everybody in, and they had Falcao. Who else did they bring in?
Ricardinho as well. Ricardinho was there.
Yeah.
And then they basically did a friendly where those two guys were team captains, which imagine them on the same team. That would have been brutal. But they basically picked teams, and I've talked to several people that were there. Some people think it was a real big success. Others were like, well, it ended up being a lot of like, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just wasn't the right fit because it was a lot of street soccer guys that weren't real futsalers. And although they adapted very well to the sport, it was just not relatable to an audience that still needed to be educated on what futsal was. Right. And so it was kind of more of a lazy exhibition than it really did showcase what the sport could be, if you ask certain people. So a lot of people say that when that friendly happened, that was kind of the downfall of the PFL. Which is crazy to think about. You brought in Falcao, you brought in Ricardinho. You're probably thinking, oh man, we got the two biggest names in the sport. Like, we're gonna rock the house. And then people were just kind of like, meh. This is, and it kind of goes back to what you said to start the stream. IX is that because of the way it was built around all these personalities, it was just a lot of one-on-ones looking for that highlight reel. It wasn't real futsal, so it was just kind of tough.
Slight channel plug. There is a story in the works of the lore behind the PFL, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
maybe if
we're trying to figure it out. It's very, very, very early, but it's doable.
I'm so interested in how that all kind of like felt, because these were some heavy. Mark Cuban is not throwing money to anything, right? Like he's figured it out, and he knows, and he's been in sports.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and the old rumor mill in the futsal community globally is that he's still sniffing around trying to find a way to get involved. So that's encouraging a little bit that there's somebody with some deep pockets that's still interested in futsal, which is cool. But
so Mark Cuban, if you're watching,
yeah. My contact info is in the description. No, I'm just kidding. But,
hey, I'll take a job too. I'll just work for a job.
Yeah, right. No kidding. I'll be cheap. But
if you're not interested in futsal, I can still work.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and it's interesting too because the PFL model was, okay, we're going to do it in NBA arenas.
Yeah.
Which to me, I think was maybe shooting too high in the sky. I don't think that when you're educating a fan base that you want to start in a 20,000 seats or 18,000 seats, you probably want something a little more intimate. But it's just interesting, and I think that what was really cool about it is they figured out a way. It's obviously a futsal court's bigger than a basketball court, so they'd figured out a way to build out a futsal court. And the idea was, okay, we're going to do this before the NBA games. So maybe people will come early to check it out if it's, part of the day and they buy one ticket. And then we'll get people caught on to this and it'll naturally catch on once they find it. And then we'll build it from there. And they were going to be able to tear down the court in like 75 minutes or something crazy like that.
That's crazy.
And have the basketball court ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, sure.
So what's that, Luke?
Oh, I was just saying, I was like 75 minutes. I mean, it should be doable. I mean, you look at San Lorenzo's court; it looks like an easy swap.
Well, San Lorenzo's court is all one court. They just have all the lines down for all the sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how they do it everywhere else in the world. Is they've just got a space big enough for literally everything.
I will say, Yuck. No disrespect.
Yeah, no.
Like that.
Yeah.
I get
When I
that.
see them, I'm always like, oh my God. Jim B, why aren't we just playing on a futsal court?
Well, shout out
that's-
Lansing. Shout out Lansing City, man. I mean, the best futsal facility in the United States. You know, if you haven't seen it, take a
Jake
look.
sent me
You know.
pics. It looks
Yeah,
nice.
that place is awesome. Actual futsal only court. I mean, they tape down lines for all the other sports. It's the opposite of what we typically get in futsal, where we got to come in early and tape down lines and create our court. It's the opposite. If you come in and want to do volleyball, okay, we got the stuff for you, but you got to make your own lines and be ready for your league. But it's a beautiful facility, 800 seats. It's all really close to the not really close, but it's very close. There's not a bad seat in the house. All very close to the court. Really cool. Really cool. I've seen a couple games there now, and it's a fun experience. You feel like you're a part of it, which is pretty sick. But I think of two. I hesitate to bring them up because I know you're not a huge fan, but Palma having their own arena, you know, they or Hain, right? Is that how you say that? Jaen, is that, or Jean? How do you say that in Spain?
Hain.
Yeah.
The Olivo Arena. That is nice.
That is gorgeous.
And
oh my gosh,
their fans are so passionate.
They feel like and I know you follow that league very closely, right? That team always feels like they're right on the cusp of something amazing.
I think I described them as the Tottenham of futsal, just like.
Ooh, why so mean? Why so mean to those guys?
They've won trophies, though. They've won trophies.
Okay.
They've won the Copa del Rey, I think, a few years back, recently, in the last 3 years. And their fans are probably, them and Valdepeñas, the best in Spain, and maybe Manzanares, and just packed. Or the Olivo Arena is a big arena, too.
It is, isn't it? Like 4,500 or 5,000?
Yeah, and they fill it out.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
I love that because I hate this model and this idea because whenever I do futsal content, they're like, oh, can't wait for Real Madrid to get a futsal team. And I'm like, brother, I guarantee you, Madrid are good at football. They're good at basketball. I think if I'm a Madrid fan, I'm sorry, my time is already invested. I can't go and be like, okay, now let me go like futsal out of nowhere.
Right.
Teams should be growing in places where their football teams are trash in Europe. If you're going to put a futsal team there, have a trash football team. That's how it should be. That way everybody's going, okay, we don't care about FC Cartagena. Let's go watch Jim B play because they actually win stuff. I don't know what team is in Hyen's area, but based on the way Hyen's fans are always at games, they don't have a good team in that area.
Right.
Barca futsal fans don't seem that passionate. You know, maybe I'm mischaracterizing, but compared to the other teams in the league, they just don't seem as fiery.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Is you got these guys and they're winning and they can't fill out a stadium like some of the other guys can.
Yeah,
So it's not like they're a crappy futsal team that can't get people in the building. It's interesting.
Yeah, no.
Is that the arena?
Is that the Olivo? I believe so. Yeah,
looks like it.
Is that it? Did I get it right?
Yeah,
J-A-E-N. Deporte de Jaén.
Yep.
Right? That's it then, I think.
Yeah, that's there it goes. I thought the seats were yellow and green. That looks
I'm expecting that sea of yellow and green just everywhere.
Maybe I got the wrong one.
This might have been a Copa del Rey final or Super Copa final.
Oh, maybe
or something.
Oh, yeah, perhaps so.
I'll try and find another one.
Couple comments in the chat that we got to catch up on. Quinn Parks is in the chat. While we were talking about the PFL, he said the current indoor league would have to fold. I kind of agree with that.
I agree and I disagree.
Yeah, I kind of feel on the fence on that. It's not the same, but
I think
he said that's where the players are too, which the athletes are there. Yes, the futsal players are not there. These guys are very athletic. They're not futsal players. Watch the American national team, and I'll prove it to you. But yeah, and then all emerging sports now need a gambling sponsor. That gambling in sports has just evolved so much in the last few years. That's
it's a disgusting partnership, but I see what he's saying.
Yeah, It feels dirty, but whatever it takes, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got money. They got money.
Yeah. I think the U.S. team should be chosen out of the American indoor players. They at least have a fan base. Well, we tried that.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. It failed.
Go watch FIFA. Go watch World Cup qualifying.
Yeah. There's not enough space for both. You know, Quinn, something that's interesting, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, since you kind of, coming here a little bit later in your life, maybe not seeing it through the youth level. But I think that the problem and the reason it feels like there's not enough space for both is because the indoor people are in charge of our futsal youth leagues. Mm-hmm. And so they have an, alternative agenda. They need to feed the league that pays them. And futsal, there's no money in right now. So until we find that gambling sponsor, they're going to keep feeding the indoor monster, not the futsal monster.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you kind of see the same thing or have heard similar things, but I think that that's a big problem here is the guys that say they're for it. They're, at a certain age group, they're not anymore. Okay, let's push these guys to an MASL club. It's not the same.
I just want to say, as someone I think all three of us have probably dreamt at some level to play either football or futsal. And at like a human level, I think it's great that there are alternatives for people who can't make it to the MLS. Whether that's 7v7 or anything of the sort, I think it's great. I think my issue is that 7v7 doesn't want to distinguish itself from futsal and just say, we are not this. Skill sets might be kind of similar, but anybody who's played the two sports knows that 7v7 is just smaller soccer with much more running, which makes it seem more chaotic, but it's really just exhaustive. And the walls are kind of corny. And very much just like, it's a less skill-based game. Now, I didn't know that that they own the youth leagues, or at least they've got their hands in there. But I don't know if it was you or Chris Fernandez, who's like a Canadian futsal journalist.
Yes.
Posted a picture of the U.S. men's futsal coach with like the MASL head person, and then they showed up. They showed up to a U.S. youth futsal event together. And everything about it was just weird. I was just standing there like, this would be like a 3v3 basketball coach, someone else who runs youth basketball, showing up to like a big 3 game or something. It's like those are different games all the way through. And
and that's the interesting thing about it is, so the leagues technically are separate. Like there's not a direct tie to MASL, except there's people that are on the boards of these organizations that are also on the boards of MASL. So there's not a direct tie. They can't say that there's any funny business, but it's interesting because there's a clear push. When you follow the US message boards and Facebook groups and all this stuff, it is plagued with MASL posts. And it's like there's no natural futsal posts in there at all. It's all ads for MASL. Ads for guys self-promoting their books. It's just it's just a cesspool of things that aren't futsal. It's awful.
Here's an anecdote for exactly what we're talking about. The owner or the commissioner for NFPL, National Futsal Premier League, on their social medias posted the tryouts for MASL.
The combine, right?
The combine.
And I'm like, the combine.
What are you doing? Why would you do that? It's just it's just mind-boggling. Get your money, but at the same time, don't tell them to leave. You know what I mean? Retain some talent. Try and push futsal. That was mind-boggling to me.
Well, and then they wouldn't know that exists if they were good enough either. There's no need to even do it. But it's mind-boggling, some of these things. But those guys are all buds, so they take care of each other. They got their little guys crew going. That it's a bit of a status statement that I'm in this circle, and so that's what they prioritize over the sport. But one thing that this will blow your mind, IX. So I talked to a parent. I can't remember how long ago it was, but a parent found my channel who had a child in futsal, and he's older now. And he told me this story that he was at a USYF national tournament with his son. His son's team qualified for nationals. And he was talking to the director of USYF, who is also the commissioner in MASL. His name's Keith Tozer.
Yep,
and he's
that's the guy,
yeah, you probably recognize the name because he's on every social media post, for USYF in doing one of these. So he was talking to me. He goes, yeah, this my son has been invited to go try out for RSCA Anderlecht futsal club in Belgium. And they're really excited about him and they want to bring him over. And he said that Keith's face was just like deadpan. He couldn't understand why the kid didn't want to stay in the US. And yeah, that pose right there. That's it. That big Milwaukee Wave championship ring, which he earned. But but look at the size of that monster. That looks like Shaq's NBA ring.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, he was real shocked that his son had found a proper futsal pathway, and he didn't even congratulate him. He didn't care because it wasn't indoor soccer. He just like kind of walked away. It's like, whoa, that was kind of weird. So yeah, it's kind of wild. And then, you also see some clubs, I think, getting smart to this and realizing it. And I've been seeing a lot of clubs go off on their own and do their own international trips instead of doing them through these organizations. And I think that's kind of highlighting another shift that's potentially coming in futsal that could hopefully help everybody out. But those are the leagues where there's a lot of interest in some really good futsal. I know you follow them, so I mean, you're well aware. And from following Champions League, I mean, Anderlecht's pretty. Even if you end up on their reserve team, that's pretty damn good. Yeah, that's a pretty good, for just a silly American trying to stumble through this world of futsal around here.
Right.
Nah, man, that's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
I think all of that is actually insane. I think it's like pimping futsal in a way.
Yes.
And I think that's what's really that's what irks me. It's fine. If you like arena soccer and you have 7v7, and that's something the nation wants to do, have at it.
Right.
But don't string along another game because you haven't figured out how to either A, get people to play your game when they're young and actually enjoy it, or B, that's the part that I think is sickening. Everything is fine. Not really fine. I do hate the 7v7 stuff. I will say that. But like I said, it's good to have alternatives for a game that leaves a lot of people in the dust, as is soccer. But I think the stuff with Gerard Piqué, I think that's a fad, the Kings League. And I think that's
Kings League, yeah.
That's the worst thing that could have happened. Do futsal, particularly in Spain. And then, you got pro players going there. Ricardinho was kind of in it for a minute. And I was just why? Why are we doing that? What is this? What is the appeal? That's the thing. There's no appeal to me. I've played 7v7. If you have an 11v11 skill set, you will go there and you'll be fine.
Right.
It's not a different game. Futsal to soccer is like boxing to MMA. They've got things that are relationally, but they are totally different.
Yeah, same thing's getting hit, but other than that, there's not a lot that's actually the same.
Yeah, it's totally different. And I think the way they do arena soccer and the way they advertise, and when I saw the combine thing too, I was like, yeah, this ain't it. This is pimpy.
I give MASL itself some credit. I mean, they've got a great fan base. They got a hell of a following. It is professional. They pay the guys, a lot of things that are missing from futsal, but it's the backroom stuff that annoys me. And it's man, don't pretend like this stuff's not happening either. These guys have got it in their head that they're doing futsal a favor too. They've convinced themselves that this is a good thing. And it's just it's a little nutty to me. But I mean, we're gonna have to. We need a big shift. That's why I've been preaching a lot lately on my channel. We got to own our backyards and prove that futsal can do its own thing. And it starts with us. These guys aren't going to shift for us. They've already got something that makes them a couple bucks. But OK says I heard KSI and Speed making a 6-a-side football league with a bunch of legends like Ronaldinho and John Terry. Oh, I'm trying to imagine John Terry right now on any kind of surface playing competitively, and it's hard.
And your wife if John Terry's playing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Big John's coming around.
Oh man, I hope there's not a women's division.
Oh my gosh.
I did see an ad for that. I do think, okay, here's the one thing I think, I don't know if I'm on the money on this. They know soccer's money has dried up. I think FIFA, UEFA is hip to the fact that the American market's the last market for soccer to really conquer. And I think there's an inkling that even that won't be enough to fill everybody's pockets or really be worth it. And all of these alternatives are popping up. And I think soccer is also getting to that level where things are fairly corrupt and we all kind of know it. And I think fans are like, okay, I watch this game. I could name the top 5 of every league right now in soccer. And I don't even watch anything past like the Prem intimately.
Right.
That's how bad it is. And I think they're trying to, hey, let's find a way to give Diet Coke soccer 7v7, 6v6. And I think it's dense to me. And it's a betrayal because futsal is right there, and has been there, waiting. Mm-hmm. It's a perfectly good game. Kay's watched games in the lives with me. People in the Discord, they watch the games. You don't need this Diet Coke 6v6, 7v7, 8v8. I mean, they're going to keep coming up with it.
Right.
It's like, let soccer die. If that's going to happen and the money's dried up, that's fine. But you don't need to riddle the atmosphere with these fake games that have no basis. And now a near futsal, 6v6. Get out of here, man. Just do futsal.
Yeah, you're already there.
Right.
Why? Yeah. Why are you fighting it? I don't know. I just don't get that. It's curious too. Like I saw Ronaldinho. He grabbed a rights to an arena soccer league here in the U.S. And when I saw that, I was like, no, not him. Like everything he does is so like entrenched in futsal and street soccer style. Like how? I don't know. I almost wonder if we need to find that person that's at that level that is willing to, just start a league. Like maybe a Ronaldinho's who we need to start a league, or somebody who really came from futsal at a professional outdoor level that has had the salary long enough to fund it to make it right. It's so interesting. It's crazy how many different ways you can skin that cat. But another interesting thing that Quinn brought up was kind of the women's futsal path. Another thing that's kind of crazy to think about is, FIFA, they keep wrapping their arms around this stuff to make sure nobody else does it. But, the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time ever for futsal is next year. And we haven't heard a single word about qualifiers for, I think UEFA is the only one that's held any kind of qualifier so far. Which is kind of nuts. I talked to Chris Fernandez in Canada, actually. So he's coming up for a second time. And he said, I'm kind of waiting because there's supposed to be qualifiers. And he's meant to commentate the CONCACAF championship when the time comes. And he's like, just kind of waiting on CONCACAF to put something on the schedule. But last I heard, I'm not even sure that they have a country pick yet to host it, from what I'm hearing from most people. So it's just, I know futsal's a little easier to set up. It's a lot easier to find an arena in a region to host compared to, say, the extravagant nature of football. But even then, man, I feel like we're getting down to the wire here, fellas. Like, can we get this figured out a little bit?
Right.
It's insane.
Oh, no, was it not the Philippines who's hosting the first women's?
Philippines.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see some Asian qualifiers, because I saw a tournament here recently, and then actually, you know what? Quinn said Oceania has two. And he's thinking the Women's World Cup should lead to the Olympics. I saw Falcao was talking to FIFA during the Men's World Cup about the Olympics, and that I thought I saw a report afterwards that they were going to seriously consider that or put in a bid. I don't know what that means. It doesn't really mean anything, but they at least acknowledge that they need to try, which is interesting. But I don't know. Everybody feels like that Olympics thing is the turn. What do you think?
I don't think it's. I think it's a good idea, and I think it would bring eyes on the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest thing with futsal has always been cultural. It has to become a cultural force. Kind of like we're talking about, like, it'd be super cool community, colleges even start that movement, get that off the ground. then you're in the cultural zeitgeist, and the thing about culture is as long as you have people from the bottom make culture. A college student is not exactly at the bottom, but they're usually broke and they're cool, and they've got time.
True.
And they've got all the things needed to really start something. The rest of us are in 9-to-5s. We're not cool. We got bills. I think France would have been the perfect moment for futsal because France is a culture pushing country.
Mm-hmm.
People follow France, whether it's fashion, their music's fairly popular, movies. Turns out they're like big in the video game industry. I just found that out recently in animation.
I didn't
and
know that.
Imagine you make futsal in France, Olympics, the chances of a French guy going, I want to make an animation about futsal or something from there is crazy. Now you host it in no disrespect to anywhere else, but they don't have that cultural force. I would have hosted the Women's World Cup in America or France or the Euro. I think that's a bigger thing than having the Olympics. Because having the Olympics could be anywhere. If the next one is in I assume at some point they'll do Africa in Algeria or Egypt or something. Those aren't really big cultural pushing countries. But if you put futsal in America or you put it in France at the Olympics, that's better than just having it at the Olympics. I think having it at the Olympics is a kind of, it's a cop-out. People don't I don't remember the Olympics. It just happened that I can't give you a moment. There are so many sports that go on at the Olympics that other people care about. And then on top of that, it was happening the summer. Copa America was on and the Euro was on and all of these other things were on that, I would hop back in every now and then, be like, who's running fast this year? The Olympics is not it's not as big as it used to be. And, it's pushing a lot of other stuff. Futsal just get lost in the noise. I mean, if you would put futsal in the 2008 Olympics, Phelps is out there getting every medal on all the headlines, and Messi had his ascension. You could trace something at every Olympics out of easily overshadowed futsal. I just don't think. I think it's lazy. I don't know. I think you got to hit the cultural tones and then go from there.
Right.
Yeah, I think the most Olympics I watched this past time was all the memes from the Australia breakdancing girl. But other than that,
oh my gosh,
I think I watched more replays of that than I did of actual live games, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings up another thing about that. Yeah, there it is. Do the little kangaroo thing. Yes. I think that brings up another thing, though, too, is I think the Olympics are losing steam. I just don't see their numbers improving from here. They've kind of lost their audience.
I was saying that in the Discord, and people were like, no, people love seeing their countries at the Olympics. And I was like, yeah, I think that, too. I think everybody's proud of their country. Nice to see your fellow. I know an Olympiad. He went to swim for Malawi, which is a crazy thing to say all the way around. Wow. We're not really swimmers. And there he was. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not cost effective to host it for nations unless you already have the infrastructure. And at this point, it's probably just going to be in 4 or 5 different countries, who are just going to play around because the viewership's not there anymore. I don't know. That's why I do the manga, because I've been telling people, if a kid goes and plays a futsal tournament, he's done with futsal the minute that tournament is over. You probably think it's hype. He might tell his parents about it. He might tell his friends. But people don't have futsal on the brain outside futsal. That is soccer's biggest win. Soccer is on the brain 24/7. Even for me, when I watch a Premier League match, I'm on Twitter. If Liverpool win, I'm retweeting everything like they're paying me. And then I'm going to go to a podcast. Then I'm playing FIFA, right? Then, I'm watching anime. I watch Blue Lock. And then, I go and hang out with my friends. Guess what we're talking about? And futsal needs to get into that ecosphere. So, I want a kid to go play the tournament. Then he's going to go read my manga, which is a futsal manga. And he's going to keep futsal in mind. He's going to go, okay, cool. And, God forbid, we get an anime, he's watching the futsal anime and his friends are talking about it. And it's he's surrounded by it in culture, not just at the sport. Because I think everybody knows the sport is awesome, but I think water skiing is awesome. I'm not going to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is the biggest killer of the way everyone talks about it is like, you know, the sport is awesome. You know, if you watch it, you will catch something. You go, oh, wow, this is cool. But that's not enough to get you. I think that's the idea. Oh, you watch the Olympics, futsal, like, oh, wow, that was cool. You're not going to become a fan because it's cool. Yeah. Like, you're not going to get invested in it because it's cool. It has to be like in your life.
Yeah. Kind of same way, like I think of the Winter Olympics and curling. Like, I'm always intrigued by it, but I only watch curling for a little bit every 4 years. Like, that's of my curling experience.
Right.
Like, I'm worried that that's all it would be. And although it does help incrementally a little, I just don't see it weighing quite as heavily as I think maybe some people think. And I know I've heard some people say, well, you know, that's the door to other places taking it seriously. And maybe, but I don't see short-sighted basketball taking off at a collegiate level. I don't see breakdancing teams at a collegiate level. But everybody seems to think, well, that's what's going to get colleges to take it on. And well, maybe they consider it more. Surely that's a factor, but I don't know. It's just interesting.
I wanted to bring up a comment in the chat from Quinn Parks. You know, you're talking a lot about like this cultural thing, this grassroots movement, how we build futsal. Quinn Parks brings up, I think you're underestimating how the internet has changed how we consume the Olympics, and I 100% agree. Sorry, struggling. I wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on, because I'm a huge proponent of internet and kind of like Twitch culture, YouTube culture, you know, TikTok culture, how things have like become very different. Even like I just watched a Prime football game where they have like live stats on the stream. Like, you can go and select in Prime watching an actual American football game. And you can watch like the letters and the numbers and the stats over each player running around on the field live and in real time. And I just feel like, you know, that I feel, in my opinion, because I'm on the technical side, like I help streaming a lot, is that you can build this culture through this kind of online community, through this interaction. Like there's, you know, we live so close to one another now digitally. Like I can tweet at you. I can jump on your TikTok. It's instantaneous. And I feel like if futsal can jump on that and get that buzz, like you said, like people want the highlight reel, but they also want that interaction immediately. You know, I feel like if we can jump on that, I think we could really capture something.
Okay. Firstly, when you're talking about the stats, when you guys are big, that'd be the perfect time to plug your betting sponsor. You can watch the stats and on Bet365.
100%.
I'm going to say 3 things. I think first, Quinn's right on the money. I think second, I think futsal needs to be creative about how it gets stuff broadcast. And third is a hot take, but I think piracy for the win. And I'll explain all 3. I think starting from the bottom up, I was on TikTok and I saw a guy who was going to start a backyard basketball league.
Yeah.
And he was going to film it in his backyard and he had a proper like camera crew. I was like, I don't know how rich he is, but this is cool. And refs and stuff. And I was like, imagine if you did that for futsal. Because I think one of the things that would be really cool for futsal is to just for people to know that people play it. Whether it's good or bad quality or whatever, that's besides the point. I mean, this is a backyard basketball league. I'm sure you guys know maybe 3 guys from your YMCA who could probably go and kill those guys. But the interesting thing about the internet, that's not what matters anymore. People are on the internet to either kind of just have like a karmic reaction to something and go, oh, you went through that too? That's cool. Like I'll go on TikTok and watch some guy who's, you know, it doesn't look like a former soccer player explain what happened between City and Tottenham. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool because I saw that too. Yeah. They played 35-year-old midfielders and lost. I saw that too. That's cool. And I think the internet has a really cool way of where if you can do even just like a backyard futsal league and you take it seriously and every team has a jersey and every team you've got scores and stuff, that's something that could hit. And I think if people are willing to do that, then that would be awesome. And even clubs. And that's why I think futsal teams and organizations are not creative. Because I was hating on the compilations earlier, and I still do a degree hate them. But why aren't the clubs getting in on that? If I know a guy on YouTube is basically clipping stuff from a team and all these leagues and getting hundreds of thousands of views, let me go and tell that guy, hey, end of the season, I want you to make a compilation of our team's players.
Yeah.
Your channel is already getting the views consistently. And then while you do that, you're going to plug a link for maybe a documentary or maybe some interviews of our players or something. Get creative. There was a guy, Colosimo99. I used to watch his videos on YouTube. And I was like, oh, these videos are awesome. You'd have a cool song behind them, whatever. He got hired by Juventus.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no way.
Football is thinking. I don't know if futsal, if the brain just goes away, the business-mindedness of it just goes away. But it's like, that's a smart move on Juventus's part. He can maybe he can edit those videos. He can do something else. And I also think to a degree, futsal needs that because now football, you see, Speed barked and yelled Ronaldo for a year, and he's being invited to the Ballon d'Or. Futsal, if someone is going to do that for futsal, the big wigs have to go and say, hey, let's make that guy something. Because what's going to happen is, think about Speed. Like I said, I'm not saying what he does is easy. Streaming is hard to a degree. It's not the hardest, but it's hard. There's so many kids who want to be Speed, and they're going to get into soccer, and they're going to repeat the formula. If a kid's doing that on futsal and Mayoka Palma go, hey, we'll invite you to a game, you can do a little content for us, another kid's going to go, hey, that kid, he was just using an iPhone, and he got there. I can do it too. And then lastly, like I said, piracy. I watch anime. I remember a website called watchnaruto.com with a hyphen. That website is now Crunchyroll. And it's
no way.
Anime streamer in the world, and it used to be a piracy website.
Wow.
And you can even go as far back as I was in college, and they'll talk about Shakespeare, and Shakespeare got big off piracy because back then they didn't have copyrights. So people would take your scripts, handwrite them themselves, and then go perform them at a random theater. No connection to you. And no money to you. And I do think to a degree, I pay $8 to watch the Spanish league. I can guarantee we are in the age where so many people are paying so much for so many things. They're not going to pay for a random sport, even if they know they'll like it. Even if they know they'll like it. And I think either the leagues have to get woke and go, oh, hey, they want to watch this, but we're charging them. And that's actually that's a little bit of a barrier. Let's make it free. Let's pump in ads. Let's put it on TikTok. Let's do a ref POV. Let's innovate in a way that when they watch this, at least if they're asking if they're going to give us some money, they're going to get something different. Because a ref POV in futsal would go hard. Or like different camera angles, or like different ways to play with the lighting or something. But like get creative, but offer it for free initially. That way they can get into it. The Brazilian League just went on YouTube. I think they had like 4 of their games a week on YouTube. Russia's gone backwards and used to be on YouTube, but now they're asking people to pay. And I'm like, oh, you're about to see those viewership numbers drop. And it's stuff like that I'm like, no, you got to go free. You got to go free. You got to go piracy. I mean, it might just be a pirate site that gets people watching futsal and then becomes Crunchyroll. Napster is another piracy thing that evolved and developed whatever it was going for. But those are my 3 points: creativity, social media, and piracy. Futsal.
England did that too, and their futsal scene's not near as big as everyone else's, and they've got a paywall now. And it's like, why? Like their futsal is not that much better than ours here. Like I'm not paying £6, whatever that is in US, or to watch futsal I can watch for free on YouTube. I don't know. At least the Spanish league is high quality, but even then it's like, I don't know. The time zones there's other hassles, I guess, but I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. I feel like we're too small. And one thing that I had an interesting conversation with, actually you've talked to him before as well, IX, is Steve McGettigan at Futsal Focus. And he was saying how, when you really look at even the big leagues, once you get past those few really big clubs in Portugal or Spain, like there's a massive talent gap and a massive professional gap in even those teams in what we consider as a community, the best leagues in the world. It's like, yeah, I would not be putting money on those. I'd just be thankful people are watching at this point, and we can make that up in ads later.
Yeah, like the Kings League to a degree, as much as I hate that, started off smart with the social media, the way they've done it. Their games are on TikTok Live, and they've got 150,000 people in there. People are gifting a league, which is crazy. But they're doing it. They're throwing their dollars in the TikTok Live right there, and I'm like, that's what you need, because eventually 100,000 people, 10,000 of those people are willing to pay something. But if you're starting with, who do I follow on Twitter? There's a guy named David Candelas, and he's very much like a futsal traditionalist, doesn't like that players only play 4 minutes now and get subbed, all of this. He's Spanish, and he'll tweet the numbers, especially when they're disappointing. So I'm always like, are there good weeks that you're just not tweeting? He'd be like, biggest game in Spain, only 3,000 TV viewers, screw the federation, wow, look at this Brazilian game on YouTube, 243K people watching it. That's how you get your league growing. And I'm like, man, he'd be shouting, but he's correct.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the other interesting thing about it too, is that where we're at with the community is like you can have a really loud voice in this community because it's pretty small. Like the fact that I know you and I know the guy at Futsal Focus who's been doing this for like 12 years and has hundreds of thousands of followers across all platforms is like kind of crazy. Or the fact that we can DM a player tomorrow and probably get an answer from him is kind of nuts. Like it could become very personal and people could get really connected. And I think that's the thing that feeds kind of what Luke was saying earlier about the way people receive content these days. Like you said, people gifting to Kings League, like they just want to be able to say that they're a member of Kings League. It's that badge is worthless, but it means something to these people, and it's like I watch a Pat McAfee show and I watch it on YouTube, so it doesn't cut out for 30 seconds every time it drops an ESPN. But like people are subscribing to that. It's like, this guy just got signed for 84 million from ESPN. He does not need your gifted sub. Like, you're gonna be fine. He's gonna eat tonight, I promise you. Like, but that's what people want to be a part of. They want to be a part of for the brand movement with him. They want to be a part of the toxic table and all that stuff that he has going. All these little gags that go and make it exciting for people to watch and consume their sports a little differently. As much as ESPN drives me nuts sometimes, I think that's probably one of the smartest things they've done in a long time, is kind of swallowing their pride and letting a creative guy like Pat have a microphone. I think that's really cool.
That's genius.
Yeah, I do sign of the times too.
I think in futsal there becomes this like trap where we think personable means small. Because I was watching Braga beat Sporting last year, and so many people like, oh, the futsal players are so much better than the soccer players. Like, they'll chat with fans after the game, they'll sign everything, and it's because it's smaller. And I was like, no, don't do that. I would hope that as big as this sport grows, that remains the same, because that is what's cool. Like, they let the kids come on at halftime and just play on the court.
Yeah.
You can see that. But it's like, that's not what should keep the sport small. Like, the personability should remain. Football players, soccer players used to be like that. And then now they're like, I got a contract from Adidas, so I don't really need to build fanfare anymore.
Right. Yeah, they'll follow me on Instagram. I don't need to stop and chat with them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what kind of is the roots of arena soccer, bringing them full circle. That's why they've done so well, is they were growing in a time when there was no MLS. So we had some of the best players in the world playing soccer in an indoor league, which is crazy. And then they would stop and hang out with the fans and chill out. And they were doing it in a country that didn't have a soccer culture and didn't realize how big the people were they were talking to. It's like, it was just such a family atmosphere. That's what hooked me. I mean, I got to give it credit. Watching my local indoor soccer team as a kid is what hooked me into soccer as a whole and took me down this path. So those kinds of things matter. And I think that's what makes the futsal community special, is that they still do it. And I was just admiring one of the teams in our league in Cincinnati. They won. They beat a team that's a very tough team to beat. And they didn't go off and celebrate. They went straight to the fans and hung out. And they were taking pictures with kids. And, the other thing, too, is because it's so small here, kind of going back to Kay asking about the professional leagues, one nice thing about us not being professional yet is a lot of these guys have academies behind them, too. They're all one organization. And so now the kids have a coach to look up to that they've watched them play, or they have a player on their team, on their men's team that they can be proud of and admire. And I think that's really cool. It doesn't have to be someone that's on TV all the time. It can be a local guy, which is awesome. What do you think? What do you think about some of the leagues that your followers are involved in? Like, I think about Croatia. They've got a really badass scene with some really cool fans. Like, you catch any of those games? What do you watch other than Spain?
Other than Spain, Portugal is whoever's running the Portuguese league. I can't swear on this, but
you can.
Man. Screw you. It's so hard to watch that. I watch a lot of the youth national team stuff. Occasionally, it's so hard to find any other leagues. And it's even hard to find the Spanish league unless you're willing to fork up $8 a month. On top of that, you're getting a VPN, so you're like $20 a month, if you're lucky.
Right.
So it's tough. I keep up with the Croatian league just because the Croatians are just that passionate. I just don't think I couldn't. You know what I mean? They're in the comments and Futsal Dinamo is, like you said, that is what it should be. Like that
truly grassroots too.
Yeah, truly I've read their story in the community, everything about them from the owners to the players is like embedded in community. They do stuff with the fans. They do charity drives. Truly a blueprint on how to build a team and a club. I keep up with Bosnian futsal, particularly with Bubamara Kazin, who you should look up last week, scored like a 40-pass goal. Like,
what?
Just building triangles and then just found the opening and easy money on the goal. And they're starting to invest. They actually got Luka Peric, who was Croatian pivot at the World Cup. They just signed him. So it seems like there's inklings of money going that way because the Croatian league is, I think it's a top 3 league. Yeah, because they have 2 extra teams or 1 extra team in the Champions League. So it is a proper certified, organized league that is becoming more competitive. Because Futsal Dinamo, though they're known, kind of a young team to be prominent in that league. So I just keep up. It's hard to watch futsal. And maybe that's why I'm not promoting piracy. But you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Just talking.
Maybe that's part of the solution because it shouldn't be so hard to, like, tomorrow I'm going to have to scour Twitter and the internet to find links to watch Braga versus Slobistian. I don't know their team name. I want to say they're from like Slovenia. And then, of course, Anderlecht play Sporting tomorrow as well. And it's like, why is it hard to find? Yeah, the Bad Blue Boys.
Yeah, look at that. That's amazing.
That looks as close to futsal specific as you could make an arena. Usually the futsal specific ones, the crowd is closer, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they kind of got that wall stand style there too.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that.
I hear futsal in Eastern Europe is going nuts. Like, it'll easily, some people say it'll overtake soccer here in a few years. I don't know how true that is. I don't think that will ever happen. I don't think it needs to happen, but I definitely know it's growing out there. Croatia, Bosnia, but
it's big over there.
Well, and it's cool. Like, that is if you or I were standing in that crowd, it'd be probably top 5 sports experience of our life and stay that way till we die. And it was, 2,000 people or 1,500 people or whatever's in that arena. It's a completely different experience from, like, I think about this all the time. I've been to USA versus Mexico games in Columbus. And so it's 22,000 people and it's louder and more passionate and exciting than when I was at Ohio State University versus Michigan Wolverines in the shoe. And I was with 118,000 people. It's just, the number of people almost doesn't matter. It's just the energy, and that's a place that has unmatched energy. It's so cool. I would love to be in those stands just one time. Is it possible to watch the league in Iran? Quinn, I know they do highlights. So their league has their own YouTube channel, and I think they occasionally post highlights. I don't know how to watch their league, though. I have not found them yet.
I know
Much like I'm usually scouring the internet looking for links.
Right.
The French league, I think, is kind of easy to watch. You just have Futsal Zone. You can make an account, and yes. I think it's free. I believe it's free.
I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right on that. Poland, you got to have the account, but it's free once you get in there.
Yeah.
Argentina Futsal is really easy to follow. It's all on YouTube. Red Audio is the name of. That's what makes it hard. Is the channel has nothing to do with futsal. They just happen to air it. But like Red Audio is the ones that owns the rights to 3000. I apologize to the Futsal Dynamo
Insane Amateurs boys. I apologize. All the season. Yeah, I love that. The futsal specific ones only have they'll have one wall with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a big sea around there. I love that though. That's so cool.
I shared the wrong one.
I think LNF blew up on YouTube this year for the Brazil League. I remember they just were only posting highlights. They didn't have very many followers. Now I think they're coming up on 40,000 subs.
What do you call it? I think Magnus released a documentary that was kind of similar to Dare to Drive.
Really?
One, and I haven't seen it yet. I believe it's on YouTube. I haven't seen it.
I gotta check that out.
I don't know if it will give me subtitles in English, but I would appreciate that if they did. But that's also stuff that I think teams could start to innovate on. I think Anderlecht kind of do like a diary kind of sorts of things about their team. But stuff like that, like Dare to Drive, got so many people into F1.
Yeah. F1's got a big surge right now.
Yeah, and off a Netflix series.
Right.
Easy. Because people are on Netflix, and it was an interesting show.
The other cool thing is how a moment can change everything. Like you can go viral, and it could just completely change a trajectory. So it's interesting. Like there's so much opportunity in today's world. I remember when I first started the channel, I did a video. It's my second ever video, and I actually had nothing to do with futsal at all. The concept I was covering, but it was. I don't know if you've ever followed professional wrestling in your time, but if you know who Paul Heyman is,
yes,
very famous now, on WWE. But before that, he owned his own wrestling promotion, and he was being interviewed on a wrestling podcast and talked about choke points in entertainment. And really, sports is entertainment, no matter what it is. So I thought it was really relatable, and I thought futsal was missing the mark. And I highlighted some of the things he said in that, and I think one of the easiest things to overcome that was a hurdle back then in the late 90s, early 2000s is like a mode of getting your content out to the people. Like back then you had to sign a deal with a network, and that was the only way to get it out to people. But now, evidenced by me, anyone can get online and stream stuff. Like it's incredible. It's all you have to do is have a camera and be in front of a computer or a phone, and you can do it. And now that means there's a lot more noise and it's harder to find stuff, but at the same time, I think there's no excuse for futsal communities to not be putting something out there, whether it be highlights on YouTube or even Instagram or whatever. And so many people don't do that. I think of the leagues that have come and gone in the US, especially, or leagues currently that are struggling. It's because they don't leverage social media. They're not putting it out there so no one knows they exist. It's a simple fix. It just takes time, which is the unfortunate thing. I mean, we talked about it before. Those damn day jobs get in the way. I know. But, if you believe in this thing, you got to kind of find a way to find time. I know it's not easy. I just went 40 days in between videos, so I can't say too much. But it's.
I know the struggle, man. I gotta ask you guys: do you think futsal needs more casual fans or more hardcore fans? Because this is something I got into with a friend.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm a casual fan believer myself.
Yeah.
I'd like to see your perspective.
Luke, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I have my answer if you want me to go.
Then you go ahead. I do too, but I talk over you too much. We got to hear from you.
No, so we've talked about this before on this channel. And Jake and I in private conversations have talked about this. You know, if you look at your fan base for football, for Prem League, like your basic fan, like the majority of the fans are going to be just kind of like average Joes. You know, there's a select few that are hardcore, but when you get into a league that has, you know that gravitational pull, you suck in kind of like the wives of the hardcore fan. You know, you suck in the kids, you suck in, everybody that's watching at your house on Sunday or whatever. You know, you just naturally kind of gravitate, and a majority of your fans are going to be the everyday watchers, the average person, the people like you said, Ix, the people that want to have a relational moment. Did you watch the game? Did you see that play? Those people that want to have that interaction, you will get that. So I think, yes, we do need to create an atmosphere where people can watch and consume and not have to understand every little bump and wrinkle of futsal and have it be entertaining. Like you said, get creative and show people and let the average person come in and be entertained. So I do think, yes, I would agree with you that we need more average fans, but the hardcore people are going to be the ones that make it happen.
Yeah, I think the casual fans are a better sign of health of the viewing public, because I think I keep going back to the U.S. scene, which I know is boring for most people because there's not much there. But I think about the U.S. scene, and the people who follow it are family members and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's when you see 27 people watching a Cincinnati stream, those are all family members that don't live near Cincinnati that want to watch old Sonny Boy, score a goal. It's not me. I mean, I'm a part of that community, of course, but I've got, for example, I coach with Otto Orff, who was the assistant coach under Duchamp, and I bring stuff up to him that I see about futsal, and he's like, I had no idea. I am way too obsessed. Like, it's a good thing. I was just telling a friend of ours today, Luke, that I said it's a good thing my addictive personality found futsal and not like a legit drug or something, because I'd be in a ditch somewhere. But luckily, I'm just in front of my computer screen enjoying. But so I'm an absolute extreme psychopath when it comes to the fandom. But I think that the casual fans are the ones that would give us some stability, and I think that that's what the sport needs, is someone outside of family members and that just so like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I would tell a friend about this. I would watch this on TV with a buddy at the bar, or whatever. I mean, that's how I consume most of my soccer. Some of my soccer content is, well, before I had kids. Like, I found, so I can't believe they've come up twice in one stream. Tottenham. A friend of my wife from work, you guys started this Tottenham watch party. We're going to this microbrewery. They're opening up just for us and started this breakfast menu. I'm like, breakfast and beer sounds pretty sweet. Like, I guess I'd watch Tottenham for that. That's pretty cool. So I went and watched it. Like, I'm sitting with the guys that, like, they own 6 different types of jerseys from Tottenham, and I'm just like sitting there like in my scarf that they gave me for joining the group, and I'm like, all right. But I enjoyed it. And even though I'm not like a diehard fan of that club, I really enjoyed the experience. And again, that's the kind of creative stuff we need to find and figure out. And as someone that started a supporters group for a futsal club, like, the people that made our supporters group cool were the casual fans that just wanted to be a part of it. Like, that they were the ones that were cool, not me. I was just the guy that was willing to put the work in to make it happen. But they were the ones that made our pre-games cool. They were the ones that, because we were going, oh man, I would love for you to see it someday. It's in Akron, the Vulcans, and we were in a building that it's the old Goodyear headquarters building. So it's the original gymnasium for Goodyear, where they tested rubber-soled shoes when they started getting into making rubber shoes. And yeah, it's crazy. This building's like now it's 104 years old, 105 years old. But there's a hallway in between, and then some other rooms from when there used to be offices there and R&D buildings and things. And then one of them is a microbrewery. And then the one right next to it is a restaurant. And then right next to that is a haircut, like a barbershop. And so you could just hang out in this building all day long. I mean, and so we would do that. We'd grab food at the restaurant. The microbrew let us bring it into their place to eat because they didn't serve food. So this is the gym right here. This is it. So this was the Vulcans back in the day. But and that's there we are. That's us. We made a tifo. I mean, there's a lot of white space on that. I'm not 100% proud of it, but it was a good first try. And I mean, we had a sweet crowd. I think this is the opening game against Columbus, so I think we had just over 500 people at this game watching futsal, which is really cool.
That's hype.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But yeah, so we did that. All these guys that were just interested in what futsal was came in my garage. We painted that tifo up. We did pre-games at the microbrewery, and then the beauty of it was we were already in the building. There was no drunk driving. Everybody was safe. You walk right up to your seat, hang out. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It was such a cool culture. But yeah, that's a full 40 by 20 court inside of a gymnasium that used to, yeah, go ahead and give that a like, would you? Thank you. Yes. I mean, look at and then we had a really animated goalkeeper. I mean, this guy was he was awesome.
Was he one of the Argentinians?
No, he's Brazilian, but he was from Connecticut.
Okay.
And he knew Otto and came and played for him. Like, just kind of those weird things that happen, those weird futsal connections because we're a small community. But we had 3 players from Argentina playing on our team too, youth players from San Lorenzo that came and played. So, I mean, we were all in Akron for a while. It was really cool. It was really, really
awesome. Neat. That's a dope looking court too.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty sweet. The top can seat up to 1,000 people. And then we had seats across the floor too. So our total capacity was 1,200. We had to move sides because we got yelled at for standing up. So that's us over there. Some volunteer didn't know who we were, and was like, "Hey, you got to sit down." I'm like, "No, we're in the supporter section. We're not sitting down." He's like, "Well, then you got to move." I'm like, "All right, I'll go over there where there's only 3 rows and no one can sit behind us." So we literally went right above the away team bench and just heckled them the entire second half. Fun as well. So, friend of the channel, Melissa, probably wasn't a big fan of that since that was her.
I was gonna say they probably enjoyed that.
Yeah, they secretly loved it. I know they did.
They did. They thought it was hype.
So, IX, what do you think's next for the channel? Like you talked about, January is going to be a big month for you with the manga coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We have, guys, again, we have the description of this video. We've got a link there to your store, so or to the manga, and then you can also pick up some gear. Right?
Yeah, I see you repping.
Yeah, I had to.
Hey, let's go.
And then, of course, follow you on TikTok. Have you heard anything on the future of TikTok? I know that for a while there it was a little questionable. Are we safe to keep watching it here in the US, or what's going to happen?
From what I know, it's still going to be banned. And when the ban was proposed, it was very harsh punishment. It was like, if you are on TikTok, 10 years in jail. And I was like, for being on an app?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, there's brain rot on the app, but 10 years worth of that? No. So I've been telling people hey, head to Instagram. I don't know if I'll ever touch YouTube. YouTube is just, it's a different beast nowadays. It's tough, very people on YouTube are very good. And it asks for so much devotion. But I'm hoping TikTok stays around because that's most of my community. Most of us found the channel on TikTok, and it's going to be the manga. I'll be at United Futsal events selling the manga. I got to plug Rob Andrews of United Futsal is allowing me to go over there, and
nice.
He believes that the story can catch hold, and really be cool. Something for kids. And so I'm going to be doing the manga thing, and hopefully my plan right now is, I don't know if you guys know about Haikyuu, the volleyball anime.
No, I don't actually.
It is a volleyball anime that statistically grew the amount of male volleyball players in Japan by 39%.
Wow.
Just because of and that's my pitch every time I talk about IX Foot. I'm like, if people can catch this manga and they enjoy it and they like it, they will play the sport more. They'll think about the sport more. But I think Haikyuu failed because I don't watch volleyball. No disrespect. I want to get real teams and real leagues and academies or whatever attached to the manga. One, because
so cool.
it would be nice to, have someone with a little bit of money supporting it. Two, because I think it would be cool if a kid read this manga and at the end of it is a 10-page story manga as well of Falcao's greatest goal. And then you can now on the other side, maybe there's a QR code or a link, and you can read a little bit about Falcao's backstory. Or you can see greatest moment in Spanish league history, 10 pages, Ricardinho versus Barcelona that one year. Is that 2009? Maybe 2011. But those are epic series between the two. And then you get a history of the Spanish league. You can read up on all the teams. I want it to be kind of like a gateway, an encyclopedia of sorts. That way, someone's not just reading this and going, okay, it's a cool story. And I guess I kind of like futsal in an anime context. I like volleyball in an anime context. I don't like volleyball. I want, so if you know any teams, any academies, anybody who's, from here to Asia to Europe, who just wants to, hey, that's cool, and we believe in this, and we want to put our team name, brand, history in there. That's what I want this to really be. I want you to enjoy the story, and it's a good story. I'm not just biased because I wrote it. I do think this is legitimately a good narrative. But I want to put on futsal. I want people to go, okay, I'm watching the Spanish league from now on. I'm going to get $16 to get a VPN and an $8 subscription. Right. You only watch the first division because you got to pay $21 to get the second. Everything about it is kind of backwards. But that's me, and this is a passion project of mine. So it's $2 for the digital version, which is what I'm really plugging, and it's the most secure version because anything could happen with the physicals. It takes a lot of money to produce the physicals, but the $2, it's $2 and. Yeah, I don't really have.
Are you going to produce physical copies?
Yes, I want to. Those are the ones I want to take to United events and sell there. It's just the money to get physical copies. Honestly, as of right now, I really don't know how I'm going to get physical copies done. And I've already signed on to United Futsal. I'm just really living on a Bon Jovi song right now. And hoping between now and January, I will have the funds needed to produce and be able to sell them at the cheapest price possible. Because I'm trying to make money. I'm not trying to make crazy money. I just want to get this out there. And if I can get a bulk order and then sell it for real cheap, that would be fantastic. I don't have that money right now. So I'm operating on vibes. I think someone is going to come through. I don't know who. I don't know when. I don't know how. I'm selling a car. If anybody wants that, I can finance the physicals. But yeah, there will be physicals. Manga is a physical. People collect. People love collecting manga and comic books. I don't know if you can see back because it's dark, but I got a whole wall of comic books back there that I have collected. Thankfully, before my wife, because now I share a bank account, so the money can't go that way.
She's
she's like $4 for Batman. It's 100 pages for $4. Come on, it's a great deal.
It's a great deal.
But use me as a cautionary tale, IX, to your wife to get out of trouble. Look what's behind me. I mean, this is. She should be happy it's comic books. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, you don't have to feed comic books.
Yeah, look at this doofus with the big aquarium. Yeah, that's it. Well, I think there's something to be said about the community in manga too. I think it's similar to futsal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very passionate group. It's that collector bit, people that know it very intricately. It seems to me, and I think that. Kind of pull some parallels to two communities, which is interesting too.
Yeah, no, my dream is because anime people can get into futsal easily. And the great thing is at this point in time, maybe 8 out of 10 people are anime people, or at least are aware of what it is. And it doesn't have the stigma anymore. This is lame, so it's I am hoping and I think we'll find a way. It sold 1,000 copies. I don't know if you go back to that webpage, we sold 1,000 of the digitals.
Oh, really? Already? Yeah. That's awesome.
So it's something.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And then did you say, so that's complete for the digital, right?
Yeah.
Or was there still some artwork you were telling me about that needed done?
We still need some artwork done. My artist is phenomenally talented, but with great talent comes great procrastination, it seems. So we're still working on that, and with people we're talking to, there's a bit of we're talking to some people, some clubs, and there's always that can we put this in this page and can we do this, and it's like I don't know, I need to get to a United Futsal tournament so I can recoup the money I made this month initially, at least within the year, because if we start doing what you want to do, I'm gonna be here for decades.
That's right.
But yeah, no, it's following Futsal. Yeah, this is the video with the trailer.
That's so cool.
I'm excited. I think I do think I've told people this. I think IXFoot will be one of the things that spearheads futsal popularity, much like Haikyuu did for volleyball. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think the story is good enough. I think kids will catch on to it, and of course, young adults and such. It would be awesome to see futsal at a Comic-Con. Futsal will be going into places it's never reached before, and I think that's something to me that's super cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I think it's something unique, and I think futsal is all about unique, and it makes perfect sense to me. I love it. Well, and then I love the fact that not only that, but you're finding a way to make time to for that video game too. That's so cool.
The video game. I'm excited about that. I need an animator. If you know anybody who 3D animates, that would unlock everything for me, because the coding and the game I have in mind is actually quite simple to make. It's just without animations, there's nothing you can really show on social media. You can't be like, hey, here's a script I wrote. People will be like, okay. But that's on the way. Definitely more of a long-term project at this point, because when I started it, I was jobless. And now I am job full.
I like that.
Job full.
Job full is good. It's
great. I can pay all my various life subscriptions, which is nice.
Yeah, right. Keep that roof there, all that good stuff. Yeah,
That's right.
Well, this was really awesome. We got to do this again. Maybe we need to do a league review or something together. I think that'd be kind of fun, especially with your knowledge. I think that'd be huge. So, but I want to plug one more time, guys, that LastLetter's links are in the description of this. So go support him, please. He's such an important part of the community to me, and for the content he puts out. It's so unique, and we need that. We need that. So, one last thing I wanted to run by you, because we talked about this once briefly, but I think this is a good PSA. Tell me about what we were talking about the other day about how we need more content creators in futsal.
Yes, please. The burden is heavy. Some of us, we work like you said, 40 days between a video. I was very disappointed in myself. I didn't really cover the World Cup as well as out of life.
Yeah, me neither.
But I was just, one, that tournament moves way too quickly. Two, it's honestly, that's another video. That's another whole interview. But you can't have the best tournament in the world and it just feel like a week. Futsal barely gets attention. Stretch it out. Let's just Game of Thrones goes for a month, and or more. Do the same. We don't have to play every day. Let people breathe. Let people soak in content. Let people make content in between game days. Anyways, it would just be nice if other people, if you are into futsal, make content, whether that's tutorials on different skills and things, whether that's, maybe you want to do animations of certain goals. Maybe you want to do, edits. Edits are a big thing in the soccer community. Now they're doing these, I don't know if you've seen them, trick edits, where it's like a girl talking about something and then Ronaldo will show up. I don't know. Keeping up with leagues or telling the story of your own leagues. I just think there's only so much you and me can do. And I would even appreciate if people clipped my stuff and put it on their own channel. You're reaching someone else. I'm not making money from TikTok. I don't care. I'm not going to be like, hey, man, copyright strike. If you steal my videos, that's great. Find a fan base that somehow enjoys it on your channel more than mine. But people, please, if you love futsal, if you love the sport, and you know what? There's so much incentive because this is a sport where if you do this now, you could be a 16-year-old listening to this, 30, 50, it doesn't matter. There's not a lot of people in this space. This could go from easily just posting videos to, hey, now I'm at the Futsal Euro, invited by FIFA.
Yeah.
To do a thing or two. Because this is such a small space like we've talked about. It's an intimate space. You and me know a guy who runs the biggest magazine, at least English speaking, of futsal. Yeah. I have never met anybody who works for 442 or Copa 90 or something like
Right.
So please, if you are listening to this and you love futsal, because everybody will grow. I will plug your channel. I know you guys will plug that channel. Everybody, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. I'm not trying to be the biggest futsal creator or content creator or whatever. This is not some oh man, I can't wait to get red carpet fame. It's not gonna happen here. But maybe there's a speed somewhere who's a bit more charismatic and a bit more used to the internet and knows internet language and can take internet language and marry it with futsal and just go crazy. But that's what I'm passionate about. I want to get on social media and not just see compilation skills of random matches. Sometimes I'm like, is that professional? Is that just like a hype neighborhood?
Yeah, you don't even know where it's from.
Yeah. Is that Peru? Is that Brazil? Or something like, I'm cool on that content. That's how I got to the sport, and that's fine. But I want to see real stuff. I want to see what's going on in Poland. Someone make Polish futsal content. You make, whenever people on the channel ask about American content, I just tag you. I'm like,
hey, I've seen that.
Yeah. I'm like, I could, but I know a guy who knows more than me, and that's what I want to see. If you've got Croatian content, go for it. Spanish content. There are people in Spain. There was one kid who was like, hey, if you need to know anything about Manzanares, hit me up. He hit me up privately, and I was like, you can make the video. Manzanares, you know it intimately. The video I give you will not be better than the video you could give me. In fact, any of the videos I make on Spanish futsal, if you're a Spanish kid from the Discord or something, you could make so much better content than me. You could be at games, you could be giving the vibes, you could be filming in the arena. I'm a guy who watches on my laptop. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it. I'm kind of like you. This is my my wife thinks I have slight autism, and futsal is my little thing,
Yeah.
So, I'm like, that's it. I'm just a guy who just loves this game. I want to just see more people get as obsessed as me and go crazy.
Just
the game deserves that.
You know what's funny about that, and kind of pulling this all together is I had someone reach out to me. I'm not going to say who, although they had very good intentions. So I guess I'll just leave it vague. But there's a guy that started a YouTube channel, and it's called Futsal News Official. And he's like, oh no, what are you going to do? And I'm like, nothing. That's great. Guy's got more subs than me already and everything. That's good. We need more people watching this. And he's in, I think he's Dutch. I think he's in the Netherlands, and he went to the World Cup, and he got interviews with players. And I'm like, dude, this content is badass. What am I going to do? I'm going to watch it. That's awesome. And it's who cares? Let's just get people interested, involved. I'm nowhere near and I never will be near this being a career, or even ever getting paid for it. Really. I mean, we talked about the competitiveness of YouTube. I'm just here because I love it. And there's someone else out there that loves it. Great. Support them. I'm here to lift them up. And I don't care that he used a similar name or that he's younger and better looking than me. That's a little, but other than that, I mean, it's like, no, this guy's got great content. He's asking great questions. He knows what he's talking about. Like, let him cook, man. That's awesome. That's badass. Like, I love it. How do we get him here to help me support U.S. futsal?
And we'll all win eventually,
Right.
Yeah, oh yeah. Rising tides, man. Rising tides.
Oh man, it'll happen. I'm sure in the next 5 years, there will just be more kids just making futsal content, some speed, some such and such and some suches. And I hope to be there for it. I'm really excited because I think futsal will get on people's brains and they will be. It hooks so easy.
Oh yeah. In the early days of this channel, I remember telling Luke, I don't know if you remember this, Luke, but I remember telling him like the goal is not to be the next futsal focus for me. The goal is like somebody sees this and is inspired and does it themselves. And maybe they do it better. Like you said, maybe they're a little more in tune with what makes the algorithm work. I'm an old dude in the grand scheme of, being on this social media stuff, YouTube channel. I'm in my 30s. That's really old, man. It's like I shouldn't be here. So we need that young guy that wants to do this and can do it better than me that can do it. And I will support them 100%. I would even gladly step back and say, hey, this is your space now, brother. Like, handle it. I'll go find some other place to put my passion and support you. I think that would be good. But I think that's the cool thing about the real futsal community. We talked about some of the outside noise, but the real futsal community supports each other really well. And I think we just got to get past some of these barriers. And then that big moment, like you said, in these next 5 years, it could be just around the corner for all we know. I think that's really cool. That's the part that keeps me going. That's the part that keeps me doing this down here. Going, oh, I need more futsal.
That's so funny.
Oh man. Well, guys, first of all, Ix, thank you so much for your time tonight. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And sharing your insight on your side and your passion for the sport is always great. And for other viewers that are still tuned in, we are going to be doing another interview in December. I'm working that out now, but we might have a representative from Birmingham Futsal who's been making some noise lately on the channel. So we're working on that next to wrap up the year, and then we'll see if we can keep this going next year and keep getting the good word out. So make sure, again, I'm warning you for the last time, make sure you follow Ix down here in the description, and support him over on TikTok before he gets arrested. And until I hear from you guys next time, don't forget to play with your soul.